Okay. Thank you so much, Miss Jackson, for allowing me to come observe your room. You said fifth period, so we're
Yes.
going to do fifth period. Right now, it's going to be a brief little pre-conference because I just want a little background information. Tell me a little bit about this class.
So my fifth period is a really dynamic class. I
Okay.
think it's a good blend and mixture. I have a few SPED students in that class. I have a few EB kids in that class. And I just have a mixture of, high, medium, low students. So I
Okay.
think it's good dynamic. I have a lot of kids who like kinesthetic learning in there.
Mm.
So we'll do a little bit of hands-on, and then of course we'll have some visual and some audio things.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you for that. So tell me a little bit about what you feel are the key concepts for this unit.
So this is our unit on expressions, and it's a new unit. The district kind of changed it for us, so we don't do equations. It's just expressions. Inside this unit, we're going to be talking about prime factorization.
Okay.
We're going to be talking about things like exponents and just breaking down like order of operation.
Okay.
So the lesson that you're going to observe is on the sieve of Eratosthenes.
Yeah, honey, I've never heard of that
So
before.
Eratosthenes is a Greek mathematician,
Okay.
and he developed this system in which he could, well, sift like a sifter. He
Okay.
can sift all the numbers through and only come out with prime numbers. When kids are
Hmm.
doing prime factorization, they have to know the prime numbers to be able to take a number and break it down to only its primes. And we use that with exponents, and it's helpful. They can use it for GCF, greatest common factor, LCM, least common multiple. It's a very useful tool. So
Cool.
it's just like a little mini intro lesson that I want to give them. And they also can use their skills on like knowing divisibility rules or to help them see patterns within the
Okay.
numbers.
Okay. And is this something they should have previously learned?
They definitely should have previously learned their divisibility rules. Prime numbers, maybe in elementary, they should have seen it, so it shouldn't be new, but just in case it is new, this is something I like to incorporate. The kids think it's really cool because they've never heard the name like
I had
Aristophanes,
not either.
and they've never heard the word sieve, so I
Okay.
try to engage them with that name and a few of the things in the lesson.
Okay. Okay. So how will you use technology, if any, to ensure that the kids are actually mastering?
So the way I'm going to use technology is there is a really kind of old but funny video where there's a little cartoon figure that he talks about Aristophanes, and then
Hmm.
he can't pronounce it, so he kind of fumbles over the name a little bit.
Okay.
And then he goes through the process of how Aristophanes was able to sift through the numbers.
Hmm.
And then the kids are going to have a hundreds chart, and they're going to have different color markers for each kind of number set or pattern, and they're going to kind of follow along as he says, okay, we start with the twos or anything ending in a zero for,
Okay.
we're going to count that out. Then we start with the threes, and the video kind of shows them how to do it.
Okay, okay. So now you kind of that lended itself really well to my next question, which would be about like the activities. So
Mhm.
how will your activities be engaging enough to keep the kids like in on task and motivated to actually learn?
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up with passing around a sieve.
Now the
So
sieve is the sifter.
a sieve is like an old school flour
Oh yeah,
sifter,
they
just a
haven't seen that
silver
before.
one with the like the crank on the side. So I'm gonna pass it around, let them see it, touch it, have them like do a think pair share with their partners. What do you think this is? What do you think is, what do you think
Okay.
it's for?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think it's called?
Okay.
And then have them share out on their thoughts of what it is. Usually there's like a kid, one or two who may say, it's for flour, or they may not, they're not gonna use the word sieve because
Right.
nobody uses that word.
Right.
But they might say it's a sifter. I've seen my grandma use it, and well, what is a sifter for? And then, they'll think about, well, it's to get out the lumps, or they may not know what it's for. So then we can dive deeper in it, and I can tell them about the sieve of Aristophanes. With the lesson in the video, I think it's going to be engaging because it goes kind of really fast, and then it's good because it's visual for my visual
Okay.
learners. It's going to be the audio for my audio learners, and then
Mm-hmm.
they're going to be working. So they're going to be changing colors and crossing out numbers, circling things. It's kind of fast paced, so you can't like blink because it's going to be
Okay.
moving.
Okay. 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 So are they going to be working individually in pairs? Will it be like a whole group with the
They're going
video?
to start kind of like I said with the pairs, and
Okay.
then when they're working on figuring out the prime numbers, they're going to be working individually, and then they're going to come together again back with their partner at the end when we start practicing. Okay, what are prime numbers? How can we use those and break them, find them
Okay.
using our sieve?
Okay. Now, are there any specific like routines or structures that maybe need to be introduced before you actually start the lesson, or anything that you need to introduce during the lesson to make sure everything kind of flows the way it should? Or Anything like that?
I incorporate champs into my lessons,
Okay.
so that'll let them know what voice level they can speak at, if they need help, how to, raise their hand and get help, what the activity is, if there's
Okay.
any movement involved in the activity, and then just how the participation is.
Okay. Okay. And how will you assess at the end or even like during the lesson? How will you assess that the students are getting it, not getting it? How do you normally assess?
We will definitely have an exit ticket at the
Okay.
end to see if they understood the concept of what a prime number is, if they'll
Okay.
be able to just identify prime numbers. Like I said, this lesson is an intro to prime factorization. I like my kids to know at least the first 13 prime numbers when we're breaking down a number in
Okay.
a factor tree, so
Mm-hmm.
they can easily do it. So I'm going to give them a simple little exit ticket, probably something on Schoology. That way
Okay.
that I can get the data really quickly
Mm-hmm.
and I can tomorrow reevaluate and say who got it, who didn't get it, if
Mm-hmm.
there's any misconceptions, anything I need to clarify the next day.
Okay.
So use Schoology to do that. And I'll just be walking around, proximity kind of see and
Okay.
observe students.
Okay. And I'm glad you said something about misconceptions. What do you perceive as some misconceptions that they may have?
Um, Common misconceptions with the concept that they may have is why is one not a prime number? So not
Mm.
understanding the definition of a prime number has only two factors, one and itself. So
Okay.
kids may think one may have more factors, so that's a misconception. A common one is always thinking odd numbers, all prime numbers are only odd. But then
Okay.
when we come to something like nine has one and nine
Mm-hmm.
and three. So it has
That's
three
true.
factors. More than two makes it a composite, not a prime.
Gotcha.
And then we also have two. Two is a even number,
But
but it's prime.
right.
So a lot of times kids just like don't understand it. They want to create a pattern and say
Gotcha.
all odd numbers are prime, but that's
Gotcha.
not
But
how
that's
it
not the
goes.
case.
There are a few little tricks there. Yeah.
Okay, okay. And it doesn't sound like this is your first time
This is
teaching
not.
this lesson.
This is definitely not.
So, if you had to rate the lesson on how the kids usually love the lesson
Mhm.
or not, how would you say on a scale of like 1 to 10? How would you say they feel about it?
Kids really get engaged with this lesson. So I'm gonna give myself a good like 8.5. I think the kids are I think they're gonna love it and they're gonna be engaged in it because it's gonna be different. There's a new word, there's a name you can't say,
Now
they get
that
to
is
touch
true.
something. So they're gonna get to be able to, be hands-on, see something. It's gonna be funny. The little video is funny. So I think they'll be engaged.
Okay, okay. And how long did you say the video was? Because I remember you
Ooh.
said it goes kind of
It
fast.
goes kind of fast, and I'll take it, sometimes I'll take it and pause it so that they have catch up. I think the video is like 7 or 10 minutes long.
Okay, okay. And so because our class minutes, of course, are about 45-ish
Right.
when you get finished with our little warm up and taking care of your business up front. Have you had an opportunity to kind of time out your lesson to see how long I'm doing this and how long I'm doing that? It sounds like you do, which is why I kind of asked
Yeah.
about the video time. How do you normally time out your lessons?
So I will give myself about 5 minutes for the do now, and
Okay.
then another like 5 minutes to 2 minutes to check our do now.
Okay.
Then I expect the intro where they're like passing around the sieve and doing the think, pair, share. I'm gonna give that about another 7 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So where we at 14 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
14.
then with the I'm gonna have all the colors and everything already on the table, so there's like no movement needed for that already on the table. And they'll have their papers, so I'll just say go to the center of the table. There'll be a supply manager to pass out everything, so that should take no time. And then the lesson, I'm gonna say at least about 20 minutes maybe,
Max. Okay.
with me interjecting here and there for the video. So right now we're what, 34 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're gonna do some practice. And then after that, I'll close with the exit ticket at the end.
Okay. Do you normally incorporate writing into a type of lesson like this, or do you normally wait until they finish? Because I know you said you were going to do an exit ticket. Is the exit ticket usually a writing exit ticket or for this particular lesson, or do you like do find the number, like find the prime number?
I think it's definitely going to be a mixture of it because I'm going to have them tell me what a prime number is.
So
Because I
verbally, they're going
want
to talk
them,
about it first.
they can write it down.
Okay. Okay.
So in Schoology, they're going to write it.
Okay.
What is a prime number? And then they're going to have some numbers and they're going to have to say yes or no. So it's going to be like a table and they have to match like which one yes or no, is it prime or composite.
Okay. And I know Schoology gives you that data pretty quickly, so
Yeah,
you'll be able
immediately.
to. And so what is your plan when you see now here's what I'm based with from after this lesson. What are your next steps?
My next steps are going to be, like I said, to clear up any misconceptions. If I see common things that people mistakes they're making with a certain number or with a definition, come back in the next day and have any do now with
Okay.
prime numbers and
Okay.
composite numbers to see if they can do that, and then try to address the misconceptions that
Okay.
I saw from the Schoology assignment.
Okay. Okay, Miss Jackson, I remember in the beginning you were telling me too about your different subgroups in your class. You have EB babies, some on level, of course, and then some that receive SPED services. Talk to me a little bit about your EB babies. How will you ensure, and you can tell me the different levels, but how will you ensure that they are able to communicate to you that either A, I know it, or B, I don't? Just talk to me a little bit about that.
So I have a little bit of a mixture. I have a few level ones, mostly like level twos in the class.
Okay.
I do have in-class support there to assist them,
Okay.
the level ones. But I try to always use visuals, illustrations. We have sentence stems that they can utilize
Okay.
so that they can, effectively communicate. But the paper they're going to get today is going to have a picture of Eratosthenes on there with
Okay.
like a picture of a little colander with numbers going through.
Okay.
So if they, kind of don't understand what I'm saying, they'll have a visual when I'm
Okay.
talking about what a sieve is and how they're sifting through the numbers.
Okay. Okay. The other thing I wanted to ask you about is your grouping, because I remember you said first they're going to start with pairs, then they're going to work individually, and then they'll go back to pairs. How do you select pairs?
So every day can be a different day. Sometimes I like to do random, sometimes I like to
Okay.
do intentional. Today we're going to do random. So I'm going to stand at the door and I'm going to have cards and I'm going to hand the kids number cards and they're going to have to get to I'm going to say sum of 5. So
Mhm.
this can be with using integers or it could just be using addition. They're going to have to be creative with the numbers. So if they get a black card, they can say that that's a negative card with a red card, but they have to total 5, whoever your partner is.
Okay, now this is something they previously learned, so they not
we play games like energy games like war and different things with the cards, so they kind of are familiar with like the red and the black and how to create the sum. So yes, they're going. It may take them a little minute to figure out like I got a 10 and I got a 5, or my 5 is black and yours is red. That okay. So if they can explain and justify their combination to me, then I'll let them slide.
Okay.
And hopefully they don't trade cards.
Right. So what would happen? And I'm glad you kind of led to that. What would happen if you see some babies swapping out clothes because they're like, oh, I don't know what this means.
I'm going to try to be intentional. Like if I don't want Naomi sitting with Billy, knowing that I'm gonna like memorize that I gave her a this, so she won't get with that person. So if I see them together, I'm like, did you trade cards with somebody?
So you already know your lookers, the one that you have to really pay attention to
Right.
and stay on a little bit within the class. Okay.
Definitely.
So it sounds like you have a good rapport with your students, and it sounds like you know your students behaviorally. So
Yes.
that helps me a good bit as well. Do you have any questions for me? Because I know it's a little different. People coming in and they may not have regularly seen my face. So do you have any questions for me?
No, I don't have any questions for you.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll be seeing you 5th period. All right, Miss Jackson. First off, again, let me just thank you for allowing me to come into your 5th period. And you were right. That is a dynamic class. I kind of want to get your thoughts and your opinions first. Tell me, how do you think the lesson went?
I think the lesson went amazing. There were a few hiccups here and there, but the kids were like super engaged. They really loved the hands-on part, passing the sifter around. They had so much conversation about that. I had to like shut it down because they wanted to keep going on and on about where they've seen it or what they thought that it did. Just reflection. I should have had a timer.
Okay.
Should have had a timer for that part because I thought more kids would have been like, know what that is,
Right.
or saying things, but they really had an idea. They really had seen something similar, or they had really good thoughts that led into the conversation about the sieve of Aristophanes. The energy was really high at different points. They thought the video was funny. They also thought it was a little corny, but I'm corny as a teacher, so they're used to it. It was a little bit fast paced, like I said, I expected that. So there were some parts where some people got a little frustrated and we had to make some adjustments on the fly.
Okay. Now let's talk about your pairings. Now I know you did say this time you were going to do it randomly.
Yes, it was random.
Are you thinking that you're going to consistently do it randomly, or are you thinking maybe next time I could use my data to kind
Mhm.
of group the students and based on their strengths and weaknesses when it comes to certain concepts, maybe group them according to data. Had you thought anything about that in reflection of the actual lesson?
For this particular lesson and reflecting on it, I don't think that the data would have mattered since this
Okay,
was a new concept
gotcha.
and it wasn't anything that we've done before. But if we were going into like prime factorization
Mm-hmm.
itself, I would kind of group the high kid with a kid who may be medium or a medium low or medium high, making
Gotcha.
sure that I do have at least one partner or people at the table who know what prime numbers are and are strong in them as
Gotcha.
we start to break those composite numbers down.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Now, I did hear a few kids who were actually working pretty good with the video.
Mhm.
And then I noticed that you started to pause the video because at first the pauses were not that long.
Mhm.
You kind of paused it, gave a little bit, and then you kind of kept it moving. What made you pause it and kind of hold off a little bit longer?
So, like I told you in the beginning, I knew it was going to be fast paced, and I
Mhm.
wasn't expecting the kids to really keep up with the video as much, but I knew that it would keep them engaged because they wouldn't have downtime to
Mhm.
be, get lazy or get laid back. I saw my baby over there, my baby Angel, one of
Mhm.
my EBs. He seemed like he was just struggling. He was a little bit frustrated. And then I had one of my 504 kids, William. They just seemed like they just needed a little bit more time. And,
Okay.
those are their accommodations to, make sure that they have additional time. So
Okay.
I started pausing the video so they had time to do catch up.
Okay. 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 And then I saw the different colors.
Mhm.
Speak to me a little bit about your organizational system and how that kind of helps you within your classroom structures and routines.
So I try to make sure that I do like roles and responsibilities at the
Mm-hmm.
table. One of those roles is being like a supply manager. I think the best thing is, planning and prepping and having it ready. So in each table they had a little caddy.
Okay.
They had about 13 different colors. So the kids could mix and match the colors and trade off with them. The papers were already there. They didn't have to do anything like fold or cut. So none of that stuff was necessary. But prepping that ahead of time took care of the movement, the
Mm-hmm.
traffic, them having the supplies, and then they just had to work within their own little, group of people as far as what they were going to use and how they were going to use it. I did have one baby that got a little bit frustrated, my Thomas, poor Thomas. Always, he just got baby colors was everywhere. He was marking stuff that shouldn't have been marked. He just overwhelmed, but he's typically like that. So I already had one pre-done for him. I just slid it to him so he could have his notes and put it, glue it in his notebook when it was time for him. But that's
Gotcha.
always Thomas, baby.
Gotcha. And I know I didn't ask in the beginning, but I know you said that this was just an introduction. So
Mhm.
your goal wasn't to for the students to actually know anything about really what they were doing. So tell me really what was your goal for this particular lesson?
Like I said in the beginning, this was a prerequisite for them to go into prime factorization.
Mm-hmm.
The goal was for them to be able to recognize prime numbers,
Gotcha.
know the definition of prime numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I love how the video talked about it brought in their prior knowledge from elementary, and he used the language of skip counting.
I saw that, and I know I can recall hearing skip count,
So
but
he talked about how do you skip count by two? How do you
hmm
skip count by three? And then he also said, what are the multiples? And then he talked about the factors of the
okay.
numbers. So them knowing that, prime numbers only have two factors and them being able to make the connection between skip counting and multiples.
Mm-hmm.
That is definitely important for, sixth grade, that language change.
Yeah.
Knowing what is the prime number, what's a composite number, they're going to need that for the prime factorization part. And prime factorization is very important because, like I said earlier, it helps with fractions. It helps to
Mm-hmm.
find it. You can use it to find greatest common factor. You can use it to find a least common denominator. There are different tricks and ways that you can use a factor tree to help you simplify fractions. So for me, it's a cornerstone or like a good foundation piece
Okay.
for kids to know because they can use it in multiple or many aspects of the sixth grade math, like scope.
Okay. 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 Um, so Miss Janet, I heard you say Janet a few times, got up out of her seat. So is this her normal? Because I know you did redirect her, but it was in a very positive and productive way to where she didn't feel like it was being, well, she didn't respond to it as being demeaning or you were yelling at her or anything like that because you didn't. Talk to me about how you build rapport with your students.
I just like to take the time to like really observe them, who they are, what they like to do. We talk about, some of their interests, talk about what they do with their families. But Janet is one of my healthy helpers. She's one of my higher kids. She finishes fast and early, so I give her the autonomy to kind of be a peer tutor.
Okay, okay.
Sometimes she gets over there and she starts doing it for the kids, so I have to shut her down and say, "Hey, we're here to help them.
That's true.
We're not here to do it for them." But she knows the class and she knows kids who may need some more assistance, so she doesn't mind helping them, and it kind of keeps her busy and it gives
Mm-hmm.
me another body in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it's me, it's her. I'm calling Janet in
Mm-hmm.
there,
Mm-hmm.
and we have our in-class support person. So that's just another element, and she enjoys helping them. And most of the kids will be like, Janet, come here, help me. They
I can
they
tell.
they want they want the help from Janet because they know she knows what she's doing.
Yeah, that's really good. So this speaks really about the classroom culture. And you said it was a dynamic class,
Yes.
and of course it was, but it's like a humming in
Mhm.
there. They all are working together, and they're all even when they get a little irritated with each other or irritated about something. I didn't hear anyone being disrespectful to each other. Of course, not to the teachers. I didn't hear
Mhm.
any of that. So talk to me about how you have built your classroom culture.
Just about talking about respect. The first day of school, I play Aretha Franklin, RESPCT, and we talk about what that means to them.
Mm-hmm,
Have they
mm-hmm,
ever heard that song before? What is respect to you? We kind
mm-hmm.
of do our classroom norms. We
Okay.
said our goals and our for each class period. We do it. What do you guys want to do? How do you want to be treated?
Mm-hmm.
How do you want to treat others? So we set our rules or expectations for our class, and I let them create that, and they hold each other accountable to that. One of those is not disrespecting each other. It's, for math, for me, it's definitely, mistakes or how we grow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's okay to make mistakes. We don't laugh at each other because everybody makes mistakes. I
Right.
make mistakes. I make them all the time in class. Some on purpose, some baby, not on purpose. Okay. And
Right.
we learn from our mistakes because how else can you grow? And especially in math, there's always mistakes. We have pencils with erasers, so
Mm-hmm.
you can erase them and
That
start
is
all
true.
over. So one of the things I do enjoy about that class, like I said, is we have a special population. We have SPED, we have EB, I have high kids, medium kids, low kids, but they all get along. They really respect each other and work well. Even with my EBs, I think it's great because numbers are just universal.
Mm-hmm.
Janet can go over and help them as well with, even if they don't totally speak the language because numbers are universal. And
Right.
like I said, we have our sentence stems, we'll have our word banks, we have all of that, and the kids are used to it. And I think it's great for them as well because sometimes, I throw a little Spanish in there, positivo, negativo. I'll teach in Spanish, so it becomes math Spanish class.
Right. Right.
But I think it's just a great like culture, and I love the fact that you were able to see that
Yeah.
they were able to get along in there.
I did. I saw also your word wall.
Hmm.
I saw your norms listed. I also saw anchor charts
Yes.
all over, and I didn't know during that particular lesson they were not looking at it, but
Mhm.
what is the purpose for your anchor charts?
The anchor charts is so they have something that they can always refer back to and reference to if they
Mm-hmm.
need a little bit of help. It's a quick way to, see something or remember something instead of having to, flip through their notebook or
Mm-hmm.
be like, what page was that on? So anything that's like a big key idea or a key
Okay.
concept, something that we're going to use for most of the year or
Mm-hmm.
is going to be significant, you'll see an anchor chart up there.
Okay.
So prime numbers are definitely going to be the next anchor chart.
Okay, and that's what I was about to ask you too.
Yes.
So, do you do them as you cover the content, or is it something that you fixate up there in the beginning because oh, we're going to get to all of this?
No, I like to keep it with the concept. So I put
Okay,
it up there after we've touched on it, after we've learned it. I put an anchor chart so they have something to reference to. If it's something that I know we're going to use all year long, like long division, that poster stays up
okay,
all year long. Friendly factors of 100, that'll stay up all year long.
okay.
Just anything that I know is going to be helpful. Because I think they say research says that if a kid continuously looks at it, that it kind of
Yeah,
gets birthed into their brain, and eventually they can look at that spot and they can see it.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that, that helps out for start, that they'll
Yeah.
be like,
And I must also make a comment about the interactive notebooks that they
yes.
have. Now, I know this campus is big on interactive notebooks. What is the do you have routines and procedures for your interactive notebook?
Yes.
Because I looked at a few and I was noticing that they had table of contents. Things were all labeled and on the pages. And when I kind of flipped to a few of
Mhm.
them, a few of the kids were able to tell me, oh, this goes with this because this is the date that we learned this. And they were really going on now. And I'll ask you another question about it later. Talk to me a little bit about the interactive notebooks.
The interactive notebook is very important for our class. So what I try to do every unit, they get a new tab. So it's color coded. Anything that I put in there that's significant, like our FDP chart or anything that they may need to reference, I try to make it the same color as the tab.
Okay, okay.
So that if I say, hey, go to your orange chart, they know that it's behind the orange tab, or go to your blue chart, it's behind the blue tab on the tab. That's like the biggest thing for me outside of the standard interactive notebook.
Mhm.
I have like the teaks on there,
Okay,
and then on the back I have I can statements with the
okay,
teaks, so the kids can check off were they able to accomplish that by the end of the unit. I put the vocabulary and I try to do an activity. It could be a crossword puzzle, it could be a matching, so that they can get familiar with the vocabulary at the
okay.
beginning of the unit.
Hmm.
So I think that those things are really great. I try to incorporate that. And I'm not really a real big stickler on the left right side for the interactive
I was about
notebook,
to ask you a question
but
about that
we
too.
just use pages.
Okay, okay,
We
okay.
use pages, and I try to do well with the table of contents. That's when my helpy helper comes in that class, Janet. She'll remind me, hey, we didn't do the table of contents today. And
Gotcha.
she'll make sure that I keep it up. But the kids do well with it. I teach them how to use it
Okay,
so that they use it in class. If there's a question that they ask me and I know that it can be answered in that notebook, I say you go to your notebook.
okay,
So I have
okay,
to teach them how to kind of how to study in class and how to use their resources.
okay,
Because when you
okay.
don't teach them how to use it, and you have an open notebook test, they spend 20 minutes trying to find it in the notebook instead of being able to know exactly where it is. So
Okay.
it's very important.
Okay, and I could directly see that it was a resource that
Hmm.
your that is differentiated for your baby. So
Yes.
even though it's cute and it's colorful to some kids, but to the others, it is an organizational system that they can use, and it will help them find things because the kid was able actually to tell me, yeah, that this goes with this, and he was I was like, okay, so green with this. He was like, yeah, this goes with this, and he was very meticulous about it. So yeah, I could see how that is very beneficial to your students. The other thing I wanted to ask about is the assessment piece. So I
Hmm.
know you said at the end they were going to do the Schoology,
Yes.
and my one of my questions was about the EB baby and how
Mhm.
he was going to be able to communicate. How did the assessment go at the end when you looked at the data? What did you determine from the data?
So from the data in Schoology, it was a mix. I think majority of the kids got it. They
Okay.
were able to answer what was a prime, give me the definition of what a prime number was,
Okay.
and then they were able to, what's the word? They were able to sort, I guess. I'm gonna use
Okay.
the word sort. They were able
Okay.
to sort what was prime and what was composite. So that was well, but there are a few tricky ones. Like I said, 15 tricked up,
Hmm.
got a couple people, 9 got a few people. So those are things that I'm gonna come back tomorrow and talk about. Let's remember it has to do with a number of factors, not necessarily if it's even or odd.
Yeah.
Let's not think just because it is odd that it is. But there were most of the kids did quite well. A few stragglers at the end, a few kids, like 1 or 2 that didn't really
Okay.
get it.
Okay.
Most kids got the majority of it right. So I'm very happy with the outcome, and
Okay.
we'll see how they are able to utilize this knowledge going forward.
Okay, because I know you did say what you were going to do with the information is take it and
Mhm.
then or the data you were going to take it and the next day you were going to turn it into a
Yes.
warm up. So do you already have your idea of what your warm up will be
Oh,
or
yes, definitely. I'm gonna bring back those problems that they got incorrect
okay.
and then add in some ones that are similar to see
Okay.
if they, once I do a little mini reteach on that,
Okay.
if they're able to say, yeah, I know that, 69 is not a prime or
Hmm.
it's composite or whatever.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay. Um, another thing I was thinking about, when it comes to monitoring and adjusting.
Mhm.
Again, I noticed that you did pause the video and slow it down. What do you think is the most important piece that could have or might have hindered a kid with that video? And
Hmm.
I hate to kind of pick on the EB babies. What do you think could have also been added to that video or could have been done to the video or for the video that could have helped him?
Possibly, it was a YouTube video, so maybe turning on closed
Yeah.
caption would have helped because he could have seen the words. And they even have a speed button on there. I don't use it often, but I found it by mistake one time. And I can slow the video
Yeah.
down. So maybe slowing it down would have helped and maybe turn it on the closed caption. Having the in-class support was also a little bit of a help, but
Hmm.
she moves around. So it was kind of new to her, but she did the best that she could.
Well, yeah, yeah, yeah. And because it's an intro,
Hmm.
I think the exposure, like you said in the beginning, is just what you were really looking for, to expose them and to make sure that they had some idea and some background or to form the foundation,
Yeah.
so that they could be prepared to go on to the next one. So this is the intro.
Yes.
You're preparing, of course, next now
Yeah.
for the next level
Hmm.
up. What do you perceive could be some of the issues or concerns with going to the next phase? And could anything from this lesson fix that? Like having them go back to this, fix what they're going on to be taught the next phase?
So the biggest takeaway I wanted them to have is being able to have that hundreds chart and
Chart.
see the prime numbers.
Okay.
So like I said, I like my kids to know at least the first 13 that will
Okay.
get them through breaking down a composite number.
Hmm.
So I like that they have that to reference for, like
Okay.
in their notebook, that's a reference material. The biggest thing with prime factorization, like over the past, is kids just when they're breaking down the numbers, they just get caught up into addition instead of thinking of multiplication. So, for
Mm.
example, when they're breaking down six, a kid wants to do 3 plus 3 instead of 3 times 2 because they want to add.
Mm.
So those are just misconceptions, and sometimes they forget. That four is prime. So again, I can always have them reference back, hey, let's turn to your chart. Let's look and
Yeah.
see, is that a prime number? Was it one of those circles? Let's think about it. Is it a multiple of two? Can you skip count by any number to get that answer? And is it, just bring it back prime. Is that a prime or composite?
Okay, got it. And this is just something I'm just going to ask. And of course, I know that's not originally how your lesson was.
Mhm.
Have you ever done it to where you give them the 100 charts and say, I need y'all to find all the prime numbers?
I have not. I think that would be a great exploration activity. Um, hmm. I just would think about, I don't know how I would get them started. I guess I would have to drop a hint or give
Mm-hmm.
them a starting point to go from.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that would be interesting. And I'm
To
sure
see.
there's a lesson out there that probably could give me more detail on like how to get them
To
to
do that.
explore that. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I was just thinking, because the video kind of walked them through.
Hmm.
And I know a lot of people love exploratory
Yeah,
lessons just to kind of
we do.
explore to see what they actually know before I actually have to teach you
Yes.
what it is. So I was just thinking, is that something you've ever thought about or ever done
Mhm.
with the kids just to see what is it that they actually know before I have to just teach them what a prime number is, or do I have any kids in here that actually knows instead of just going straight to the video? So that could be something that you actually think about. Yeah, and then the other piece I know with the assessment, did they type out I know they typed out their definition for prime number.
Mhm.
Do you think they know the significance of why am I learning what a prime number is?
I think right now they probably don't know what the significance is, but when I come into prime factorization, I think it's going to come full circle.
Okay,
Because,
okay.
I mean, it's in the name, prime factorization. And
Factorization.
we talk about how every number has its own unique prime factorization. And prime factorization, you break a number down to only its primes. So I'm going to be saying the word prime a
A
lot.
lot.
So they're going to say, oh, like when did the sieve, right? That's why we did the sieve of Aristophanes, so you can know the prime numbers to be successful. So I'm just trying to front load my kids to be
Gotcha,
successful.
gotcha. Your board configuration. I know on this campus we have we wheels, I wheels, and then an EQ. I noticed that the kids kept looking when they entered at the we wheel and then the I wheel. Why do they focus on that or fixate on that?
My students are used to the agenda. They come in, they want to see
Okay.
what we're doing, what's the do now, what we're activity we're gonna do. But definitely the we will and the I will. The we will is the objective, and the I will is what they know they're gonna have to produce, what they're gonna have to be able to do at the end of the class.
Mm-hmm.
So they like to know that in the beginning, and then it also kind of puts it in their mind of I know that I will have to be out to able to identify a prime number and define it. So the whole time when the lesson, they're focused on what is a prime number, what's the definition, because they know at the end they're gonna have to do something with that.
Okay, okay. And then I noticed your EQ
Mhm.
said, how can I use operations to generate equivalent expressions? And then I also noticed nobody ever referred back to that today. Kind of explain to me, is that something that was what that was supposed to happen,
Mhm.
or how was it supposed to go?
So it was not supposed to happen today. The EQ on there can be my essential question could be up there for that day, or sometimes it can be a big overarching for the unit or for a few days. So
Mm,
this one is for a few days. They
okay.
were not able to answer that question because we haven't really gotten there. Like I said, this is an intro lesson, just something to kind of get them warmed up as we get into prime factorization and they learn how to break down a composite number to its primes. Then when you have multiple numbers, they'll start using exponents.
Hmm.
So then that's going to be that equivalence expression.
Okay.
So it'll probably be maybe about a day and maybe 2 more days before they're able to really process what that question means or have an answer for that question.
Okay, okay. So is there anything else that because I know I didn't stay the entire time,
Right.
but was there anything else that happened that you really wanted to share with me or wanted to kind of tell me about?
I just think that it was a really different, engaging lesson that I'm glad that the kids enjoyed. Like I said, there are some corny pieces to it, but the kids roll with the punches. I think that they enjoyed being able to, use the different colors, that it was a little bit, speedy. Like I said, I think they definitely enjoyed like passing the silver around, having something that they could touch and kind of make a relate, some
Mhm.
prior knowledge to the different way. I liked just seeing the intro when they were coming in. I know you missed a little part of that when they were trying to figure out their
Yes,
partners
yeah, I
and
did miss that part.
figure out how to get to a sum or a combination. Let me say combination of five, whether it
Hmm.
was using integers. There were a few a few little hiccups here and there. I caught a couple kids trying to trade cards, but we all got into our seats. They all got with their partners, and I think that the partnership worked out
Gotcha,
well.
gotcha.
Okay.
Okay. And the last one, and I
Okay.
probably won't bring up anything else. Now, I am a huge, huge fan of Transformers.
Okay.
And there is a number one robot,
Oh,
and
and his
his
name is Prime.
Optimus Prime. And actually, they are the number one Prime. So you
Mhm.
the image of them up, you may not.
Because
It's up to you.
when that one is not Prime,
That is true. Yeah.
he's a Prime narcolepsy. So that name in itself is kind of funny.
It's a good thing, but you can point that out to them though. So his name is Prime, but he's really not a
He's
Prime.
not a Prime number.
And maybe that'll stick with them. And when somebody they hear somebody say Optimus Prime, yeah, but he's not a Prime. That's just me, just thinking about it. Well, again, I think what I've seen is very evident that you know your students, that you know their learning levels, and that you know how to move them to where they need to be. Your proximity, you were all over the room as well as your in-class support, and your little Janet was helping. So it's very evident that you're very knowledgeable about your students and where they are and how to get them where they need to be.
Thank you.